now it's going to be confirmed in this live stream that I'm a commie bastard. Right? I got my commie hat on. Right? I hate this country. I want to destroy this country. I want us to become like Venezuela. Venezuela. That's what I want America to become. I'm a commie. I'm a commie. So, American progressives are lost. As much as many of them, I'm really referring to the media. Let's be clear. Progressive media. As much as they will make their videos critiquing the Democrats and saying the Democrats, you know, they're corporate owned and the donor class, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, deep down inside, they are classic vote blue no matter who, right? They are vote blue no matter who. Nancy Pelosi claims that she's going to step down. And I don't see anybody else but myself having the reaction that I had the minute I heard this. And to me, it's just an example of how in this country, our memory just sucks. That's why these, you know, scam artist politicians can keep doing the same scams over and over again and get away with it, because somehow Americans lack the capacity to learn, right? You know, there's this technology called artificial intelligence. There's something called machine learning. In machine learning, the software essentially, but not actually, learns, right? When it makes mistakes, you can correct it, right? Like, let's say you're training it on how to identify faces versus other round objects like a baseball, right? A snowman versus a human face, right? Every time it misidentifies a snowman as a human face or a ball as a human face, the programmer can correct it and say, hey, this is not a human face. It's something else. And the program will remember this information. So the next time it has a snowman or something similar, it remembers that although this seems to have a lot of characteristics of humans, there's something different about it. And it'll remember, you know, there's this thing that's kind of round, but it's white and it has a certain texture and it's not a human face. So it remembers and it gets better over time, right? So a machine learning program will get better over time, will make less mistakes over time. That's the way it works. But Americans lack the capacity of this basic software. I shouldn't say basic software, but software programs that are supposed to be designed to mimic humans are demonstrating a capacity that for some reason Americans don't seem to have. So I'm seeing a bunch of progressives. Humanist Report was one of them, complimenting Nancy Pelosi on her leadership skills. Now, I'm definitely not one of these emotional types that, like, although you'll hear me say fraud squad because I look at them as a fraud, so I call them the fraud squad, right? That's one of the things that me and Mr. Jimmy Dore the clown would agree on, that they're a fraud squad, right? However, since I'm honest, unlike Jimmy Dore, And I don't have an agenda of trying to like, I'm pandering to people who don't like the squad or whatever, right? I can recognize and acknowledge if the squad does something good or there's some value to the squad, right? Um, Case in point, I would say one value we have with the squad is, I guess, moving the Overton window a little bit, because even if they don't accomplish the stuff they talk about, the fact that they talk about it and get a dialogue going, it makes it seem more palatable, and then that gets us closer to maybe one day actually accomplishing it. Now, we could do it much faster if they would actually fight for it, but that's for another video. But still, just simply having a conversation, things that Bernie Sanders has brought up, and having a lot of people be informed about certain ideas and concepts, that is something that is helpful. Now, because they don't fight for these things, we end up getting crow feet. We end up getting crumbs and incrementalism, little bit by bit, nothing substantial. But still, I would rather at least we have some movement in a positive direction, in a progressive direction, than none at all. But while I do prefer that, and I do acknowledge that that's a good thing, I also recognize the damage that, this incrementalism and, little bit by pieces, while they're taking their time and dragging their feet, I realize there's lots of pain and suffering that a lot of people are going through. And I realize that, in my view, the reason why they're dragging their feet is because of them being selfish. They're focused on their careers. And I find it to be absolutely disgusting and a betrayal of the American people, a betrayal of their constituents. So, my general sentiment to the overall function, overall performance of the squad is they're a fraud. They are a fraud, and they should absolutely be attacked by as many people on the left as possible. Push them, make them nervous, make it a actual potential reality that they could actually lose their positions, which will be the only thing that would make them actually fight. Right? They love their careers so much that they would betray their voters. So what would they do if there was actually a fear that they might actually lose their jobs? Imagine the things that they would accomplish. That being said, Humanist Report, the leader of the Progressive Caucus, complimenting Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is in my view, she represents everything that's wrong with the Democratic Party. It is her and her allies, her friends, her close associates. They are the reason why we have a growing QAnon movement. They're the reasons why we had January 6th. They're the reason why Herschel Walker is going to a runoff. They're the reason why even the craziest of crazy Republicans, many of them barely lost. All of that I can attribute right back to Nancy Pelosi. The core fundamental issue with the Democratic Party would be very well represented if Nancy Pelosi was used as a mascot, because she definitely represents the fundamental reason why the Democratic Party is so weak, and as a result allows these insane Republicans to get as far as they have. Why do we have Greens and Boberts and all these wackos? It is because of Nancy Pelosi and her allies. It all can be tied back to her. Why? The fundamental problem with the Democratic Party is that they serve corporate interests and not the people. They're bought and paid for by the elites and these corporations. They give the Democratic Party a lot of money and they expect something for their investment. So rather than doing things that they talk about to actually serve the people, they drag their feet and they lie to us and mislead us because they are loyal to their donors. Why is Nancy Pelosi one of the highest ranking people in the Democratic Party? Because she is a massive fundraising powerhouse. Again, the core problem with the Democratic Party is they're bought and paid for by corporations and the elites. And Nancy Pelosi represents a major fundraising powerhouse in the Democratic Party. She represents the very poison that makes the Democratic Party as weak as it is, which is what allows the insanity in the Republican Party to continue. Now, wow, I guess we just had a fender bender. How do you hit someone? Like, we're parked. Like, what are you doing? Are you drunk? We're not even driving. Wow. That is nuts. They just hit each other. Wow. So the fundamental problem with Democratic Party is they're bought and paid for by their donors. And who is more in bed with the donors than Nancy Pelosi? And then she's using this inside information to do this insider trading. So they have accumulated all this wealth. So instead of serving the American people, she's focused on getting money from these donors and therefore delivering on what these donors want. And then she's getting her piece of the pie by doing the insider trading and whatever else. If you want a lot of power in the Democratic Party, then you're going to want to be very friendly with Nancy Pelosi. You're going to want to not betray her. You're going to want to help her with whatever goals that she's trying to do, right? Because she's where all this money's coming from. So she becomes a big sort of anchor on the party, an anchor that is weighed down by these corporate ties, conflict of interest. So she, gets to this high position by serving these donors, right? And getting these powerful relationships where she can bring in all this money. And then when in power, she gets more and more money and therefore has more and more conflict of interest. She's more like serving these donors, corporate interests. And then she becomes like a virus to the party because, again, she's bringing in all this money. It's all about money, fundraising, right? That's how you get power. That's how you win elections and whatever, right? So other people in the party who want to be successful will want to be loyal to her, right? So more and more people will join her little club, serving these elites, serving these donors against the people. So if a group of Democrats actually want to do something to serve the people, they're gonna have a hard time doing it because you have this it's like a clique or club within the Democratic Party that's serving the corporate interests. They're gonna go after you. They're gonna fight you. They're going to campaign against you. They're gonna set you up. They're gonna go to war with you if you challenge them, because they're all together working as a unit to serve these donors. right? So Nancy Pelosi essentially is like cancer for the Democratic Party. Anyone who criticizes the Democratic Party realize how corrupt they are, and then would come in this moment and say how great of a leader Nancy Pelosi is, how effective she's been. It's sad, man. You want to know how effective Nancy Pelosi has been? You mean like raising millions of dollars and using it to stop progressive candidates like Nina Turner? This is the woman who's part of this leadership element within the Democratic Party who has gone to war against the progressives, right? Force them, I shouldn't say force, whatever the word you want to use. They have gotten the progressives to stand down and to basically be the Democratic Party's bitch, right? AOC came in with a little fire and she's calling out Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi goes after her. Establishment mainstream media backs her up, so mainstream media is going after her, Pelosi's going after her, and they keep beating her down until AOC just, I don't want to say give up, but let's just say, let me specify when I say give up. She didn't just give up, but she did give up on something specific. She gave up on fighting, right? So she still does stuff, right? I wouldn't be emotional to the point of just pretending like AOC serves no value or no purpose and she doesn't do anything at all. She's just a fraud. She does some stuff. She does have some value, but she doesn't have any fight in her. And anytime she looks like she's fighting, just like the Democratic leader Pelosi, Biden, and friends. So Nancy Pelosi, her success has been in spreading this corporate cancer throughout the party, weakening the party, making them vulnerable to clown Republicans. That took us to a point where, in this moment where we have these insane Republicans talking about stop the steal or whatever, they came close to winning and some did win. That is what Nancy Pelosi brought us. Her great leadership brought us to the point where tons of the most insane Republicans almost or actually did win. That's Nancy Pelosi. So, and you guys got to recognize, I mean, let's just think logically. Jayapal, or whatever her name is, I can recognize that in politics, you might have to play some games. You know, you're trying to, so whatever your agenda is, if you're going to be in politics, you want to win, right? If you're not winning, then you're not getting anything done. What's the point? And in order to win, you need to basically get power somehow. So I understand the idea of maybe you don't want to just go pissing off everyone, right? So, I mean, I disagree with the strategy, right? Me personally, I would stand with my voters against the management, against the mainstream media, right? If I have a ground movement of people that really believe in me and elected me to really, you know, do some serious things, serious changes to make their lives better, I was elected by them to serve them. I answer to no one but them, not to donors, not to Democratic leadership, not to mainstream media. So if those people don't like what I'm doing, tough cookies. All I would care about is what my voters care about. And as long as my voters are happy, that's all I care about. So everybody's mad at me. Pelosi's mad at me. Mainstream media's mad at me. Don't care. Right? But these progressives have decided to basically be subservient to the Democratic leadership. So if you're a progressive, you like somebody like AOC, right? And if you're an honest progressive, you're disappointed with AOC. You don't think she's delivering as much as she should. Well, why do you think that is? Nancy Pelosi. If not for Nancy Pelosi and her little club of, donor bitches, I'll call them, maybe AOC would actually be delivering a lot more like these progressives want. So to come at this moment and say that she's doing a great job, and again, I understand the politics, right? So maybe you don't want to attack her, right? I would, because again, I would stand with my voters. But maybe that's not your strategy. Fine. But not attacking Dem leadership and complimenting them heavily are two different things. If I chose not to attack Dem leadership because I think I want to be friendly with everyone and that's how I'm going to, backdoor deals and I'm going to weasel my way and get more power and then I'm going to be able to do the things I want to do. If that's my strategy, I'm not going to be complimenting Pelosi. I may not attack her, but I'm not going to compliment her. If you ask me about her, I may just keep my mouth shut, or I would keep my mouth shut, or I would keep things very light, I don't know. I can't think of it right now. But if you're going to play that sneaky way, you want to be all strategic about like relationship building and stuff, I would find a way to not attack her. But that wouldn't involve me saying she did a great job and she's a great leader. I'm sorry. In private, behind the scenes, again, that's not my strategy. I would choose a more adversarial strategy to overtly go after leadership for their failure, right? But if I chose to sort of be this, sneaky whatever, I might compliment her behind the scenes in private to play with her ego, right? If that's the method I want to use, behind closed doors, Pelosi, you are a great leader. You're doing a great job. I know that you're doing the best that you can, blah, 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 right? Lie to her behind the scenes to make her drop her guard and make her think that you're her friend while you secretly build power to compete with her power and strike at the right moment. That'll be my strategy. But I'm not going to goddamn be on CNN talking about Nancy Pelosi. She was a great leader. She was a wonderful leader as head of the Progressive Caucus. And then you have people like Humanist Report, Progressive Media, talking about how great Nancy Pelosi's leadership is. Her great leadership that has basically made the entire squad impotent, for the most part, effectively impotent. That is what the Humanist Report considers to be great leadership. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Nancy Pelosi is poison to the Democratic Party, and any true progressive, I hate to use the true whatever language, the no true Scotsman, whatever it is, but I would think a logical thinking, honest progressive would have nothing but disdain for Nancy Pelosi. I can find something positive in people that I really don't like. Even someone like Donald Trump, potentially. I shouldn't have used that example. With Donald Trump, it's a little different. It's a little different, but I still think there's some relevance to the fact that I could find something positive in what Donald Trump does. But I hate that I use that example, because then it's like, you could find something positive in Trump, but not in Pelosi. I guess the difference, and again, I apologize for using Trump as an example, because that just serves to confuse you guys in terms of what I'm trying to communicate. But you have to understand, Trump is leader of a party that I would be hard pressed to ever vote for, because even if I find somebody down ballot who, because I don't care about the party, I care about the person. So I find somebody down ballot who's in the Republican Party, but they sound like they have some good ideas or whatever. The thing is that the Republican Party is so insane that I really I can't take you seriously that you would run as a Republican, right? I mean, at a minimum, you need to run as a Democrat, preferably run as a third party, right? But running as a Republican, when it's not just like a bunch of bad Republicans, I mean, the entire party is just off the hinges, and they're so insane. It's not even about like difference of ideology or differences in policy. I mean, it's basically a party of trolls. So I can't take someone seriously who's in that party. But the bottom line is, I'd be hard pressed to vote for someone in the Republican Party. And Donald Trump is he's an absolute clown. I guess, let me give this analogy to maybe perhaps, and I hate that I created this complication, which complicates what I'm saying, which requires me to clarify. It's kind of like, if you remember in school, a teacher might seem to be giving a student a hard time all the time, right? And there's students who are really bad who are getting treated nicer. That's the perception. Why treating this kid so badly, and these really bad students are not getting treated as badly? That makes no sense. It's like you just don't like the student. But the reality is, a lot of times when that happens is the student that's getting treated not as good as the others, who is better than those other students, the reason the teacher is singling them out is because the teacher sees a lot of promise in that student, and they're very disappointed, and there's an emotion there where they're frustrated that this student that has so much potential is not doing anything. Now, I want to clarify. I got to clarify again. I don't see a lot of potential in Nancy Pelosi, but she at least is in a party where at least they pretend to care about the American people, and at least they have some good ideas that could help if they're really serious about them. So there's like possibilities of things, as opposed to like the Republican Party. I don't really see possibilities of anything but just a clown show. So as horrible as Pelosi is, as corrupt as the Democratic Party is, Pelosi being a Democrat and therefore being in a position to actually help a lot of people, although she chooses not to. Just like that teacher who is more hard on the student that has more promise, I think that's perhaps why it's easier for me to acknowledge something positive about Trump than about Pelosi, right? She in a position that she could have done so much to help the American people, and she chose not to for her own selfish interest, right? So I don't know. I'm human, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not a machine. I'm human, and based on those factors, I have a huge bias against Pelosi because, again, she to me represents everything that's wrong with the Democratic Party, right? So when I look at all the disappointments I have with the Democratic Party and all the issues I have with the party, she would make an excellent mascot. So it's hard for me, and maybe that's my blind spot. I'd welcome some progressive or leftist to comment below and let me know where I'm wrong. Tell me what good things that she's done, while at the same time going on full-blown attack against progressives. Tell me how the woman who went to war with progressives somehow did a great job. Maybe I'm just too biased to see it, but personally, I have so much for her that when I see her name popping up in like my recommended list that she said something or some video about her, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to hear her. I don't want to see her. I'm just so disgusted with her. Right? So why is it that I feel that way, but the leader of the Progressive Caucus thinks that she's a great leader? Humanist Report somehow was able to find something to compliment about the woman who went to war against everything he supposedly believes in. I don't get it. I'm lost on that one, man. That's why I said, man, I don't want to be associated with the left or the right. I don't want to be associated with the center, right? I'm an individual. I think for myself. I have my own ideas. I stand for what I believe to be right, what is right for this country, what is right for my fellow Americans. That's where I stand. But I do not. I find the left and the right in this country to be embarrassing. The center are just clueless, right? Centrists are the supporters of status quo, more of the same that led us to where we are today. How clueless can you be? And then you have the left and the right, the more sort of extreme, for lack of a better word, and it's just, I don't get it, man. How on earth can any progressive compliment Nancy Pelosi, who represents everything, like she is the ultimate antagonist to everything they claim to stand for? I don't get it. I mean, even if you want to say the leader of the Progressive Caucus, maybe she's playing a political game. She has this long game that she's playing where she's gonna, in the end, do stuff that progressives want. So she's just playing along. What is Humanist Report's excuse for complimenting trash like Pelosi? This guy is a individual. He's not in politics. He's just a YouTube commentator. He should be able to say whatever he wants. Why does he choose to compliment Nancy Pelosi? I don't get it. I'm sorry, man. I don't get it. I don't know how to explain it. That's why, once again, like, people calling me, if you want to insult me, call me a leftist or call me a conservative. Specifically American, right? It's American. Now, I don't know, I will admit I have huge blind spots globally in terms of what's going on internationally, but the general sense that I have is, in this country in particular, our politics, not like we're the only country that has this issue, but our politics I find to be very toxic, very fake. You know, people who run around calling themselves conservatives, I don't see them being conservative at all, right? It's just identity politics, and it's just, they're just tribalists, right? They're just going along with whatever propaganda media they watch is telling them. I see American progressives the same way, right? All this big talk about, you know, the environment and this and that, and minimum wage and whatever, but at the end of the day, like, their actions betray what they say, right? A few dozen people fought for Build Back Better. Like, what the actual fuck is that? Like, that is the American progressive. That's the American left. You got one clan. All they do all day is go after progressives. And then you got progressives. All they do is talk about Trump and also calling out these people who go after them. That's it. It's just one big shit show on the left in this country. If I had to pick a team, absolutely, no doubt, without hesitation, I would pick the left. But that's with a gun to my head. Put a gun to my head and tell me, choose a side or die. And I'll choose the left. I will whisper, yes, I choose the left. I will put my head down. I'll wear a disguise. I won't tell anybody that doesn't need to know. But if you put a gun to my head, I would choose the left without hesitation, no doubt whatsoever. I don't need to think about it. Split-second decision. But only because you put a gun to my head. Otherwise, fuck the American left. Fuck the American right. A bunch of cultists, tribalists, just lost. I think social media is, you know, everybody's focused on different things about what they think is hurting this country. I think social media is one of the biggest threats by far, because you have a lot of people who don't have critical thinking skills, very emotional, which makes them very vulnerable to manipulation. And with technology and certain opportunists and greedy people in media and politics, they use social media to control the masses, and we're left with just a big joke. Fake clown progressives, fake clown, you know, democratic socialists, and just the entire left, just a bunch of clowns. The entire right, a bunch of clowns. Obviously, I don't mean every single person on the left, every single person on the right. Right? I would never make an absolute statement, but overall, the general movement on the left and the right in this country, toxic joke, laughable clown show, blind leading the blind, just a bunch of lemmings all following each other off a cliff, all the while the entire time focused on the other side and how clueless they are, right? Two people living in glass houses, right? As their houses are falling, glass is shattering everywhere. All they're worried about is the other person across the street in another glass house. Look at you, you're such a dummy. Look at your house is falling down. Meanwhile, your house is falling down as well. That's American politics. Anyway, let me end the live stream. I see those. I don't know how to pronounce your name, man. I see you in the comments. Let me see what you're saying. Ultra MAGA King, Donald J. Trump is the only thing standing between the American dream and total anarchy, madness, and chaos. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. So you are someone who believes that a coastal elite Democrat, ultra establishment Donald Trump is somehow going to save us, a billionaire. Bill Clinton and Epstein's good friend, a person who openly admitted to being part of the swamp during his campaign, when he admitted that he was one of the reasons why our country is as screwed as it is, because he said he would call up these politicians, pay them off, and get them to serve him instead of the people. The reason why our government is so broken and this country is in the shape that it's in is because politicians are serving people like Donald Trump. And somehow half this country let one of these corrupt elites inside the henhouse. Previously, people like him used to, from the outside, have to purchase politicians. Half this country put the fox in the henhouse, thinking the fox is going to save them. It's just absolutely laughable. Holy shit. So Donald Trump, I'm gonna end on this point. Let me take off my commie hat. It's hot in here. Got the heat on too high. And I got this stupid vest on. I guess I can turn this off. Some people look at establishment politicians attacking Donald Trump as a sign that he is sort of the antagonist to the elites, or the elites are afraid of Trump because he, or the establishment is afraid of Trump because he is fighting against them. No. The reason that the establishment goes after Trump is there's two main reasons. On the Democrat side, they go after Trump to fairmonger to their base. Look at how crazy Trump is. You better vote for us, otherwise this crazy guy, this crazy racist guy is he's gonna whatever, right? So the Democrats don't care about Trump. In fact, they love Trump. Trump helps them to win elections. Trump is one of the greatest assets to the Democratic Party, which is interesting because he's a Democrat, right? The guy shifted his party just to scam Republican voters into voting for him, right? You have a Democrat elite from New York who switches to Republican and starts pretending to be religious and pretending to be this patriot and I love the country and flag and America, make America, all this bullshit, all this flag waving, which is a classic thing that, you know, propagandists and authoritarians use all over the globe, right? That's one of the easiest ways to detect an authoritarian propagandist, potential dictator, is ultra nationalism, ultra patriotism, you know, flag waving. This is what has been used for hundreds of years to control the populace all over the world. And somehow mankind are still falling for this in 2022. Right? Here's the reality. I'm gonna tell you why. So I told you half of it, right? Why? So the Democrats go after him because it's great for them to get votes. So instead of delivering for their people, all they got to do is show how they're not as bad as Trump. And Trump is evil, he's Satan, he's going to destroy everything, right? The reason why establishment politicians on the other side, why they go after Trump, is not because Trump is going after them and he's draining the swamp. No. Trump is, holy crap. Trump is, what the hell? Holy crap. I keep setting off my camera. I gotta take a look at that. Okay, so the reason why the other half goes after Trump is not because Trump is not on board with them. It's not part of the swamp. He's anti-establishment. He's an outsider. No, he's an insider. He's super inside. The reason why they go after him and they don't like him is because of how much of a buffoon he is, how incompetent he is. Let me give you a better example. You have a group of thieves, right? These are bank robbers, right? And they're professionals. They've done a lot of jobs. They've robbed a lot of banks, and they got away with it. They're super clever, high tech. They know how to disable all the alarm systems, and they're really good with weapons or whatever it is, right? They got their stuff down, right? And I'm focusing too much on how good they are, which is a bad thing, because now I'm gonna make it seem like I think like the establishment Republicans are really good. They're not. But hear me out. The bottom line is, forget about how good they are. The point is that these are just normal bank robbers who are good enough to pull off a bunch of heists and get away with it, right? And then you have this buffoon who wants to rob banks. And the guy is like, has the dumbest ideas, and he's talking about like, let's not even wear a ski mask, right? Ski mask is like, you're a punk, you're trying to hide. I think you should just have your face uncovered, right? Because that'll really scare them, because they'll think, man, this guy's not even afraid to hide his face. And the cops probably won't even want to mess with you, because they'll be like, man, why would this guy not be afraid to show his face? Clearly, this is not the kind of guy we want to mess with. So the cops won't come after you, right? The people in the back, security guards, they're all gonna like stand down because this guy, he's something, you know what I mean? Like, so that's obviously a stupid idea, and you're just gonna end up in prison, right? So you have a buffoon like that who, you know, actual normal bank robbers, they're on the same page with you. They're thieves like you. They want to rob banks like you do, right? So you don't have a disagreement about, like, you know, robbing banks or integrity, but they go after you because they're afraid that you're gonna get them put in prison, right? They don't want you to be part of their club because they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to get caught, right? And they see how incompetent you are. They see how self-interested you are. Like, you don't think about anything else but yourself. You have these ridiculous ideas. You're all over the place. You're erratic. You're super old. You could tell that your mind, like, you're just like Joe Biden. You're just like mentally like handicapped. So you're mentally handicapped plus, and that's just from age, but on top of that, you seem a little like loony. Like, there's like, my father is really old, and as a result of his age, like, there's some irrational behavior, and he might say some ridiculous things. Like, he's at a point in his life where he needs to be sort of taken care of to a certain degree because of his age. But my father's not a lunatic. He's just an old man. Trump is not only an old man, but he's also, something's wrong with his brain beyond just old age, right? So you have this loose cannon bank robber, like a guy who would think something like, you know, hey, let's go rob the police headquarters, because I heard that the police headquarters, they have a lot of like drug money or something, and you know, all we need is some big enough guns and we'll just go down. Like, stupid ideas, like reckless ideas, you know, like, you want to go rob a bank with only a week's worth of planning, right? So then you have a lot of these seasoned bank robbers that are like going after this clown, and like, oh, and they try to like sabotage you. And like, in the beginning, they're like, you know, this guy is a lunatic, he's this and that, he's a clown, right? But then if that bank robber for some reason becomes very popular, and maybe a lot of the people who would hire bank robbers seem to like this guy, right? So now you're like, oh man, this guy's a clown, but everybody seems to like him. So in order for us to get those jobs, let's pretend to like this guy and just go along with the flow, right? So the bank robbers accept this buffoon just because of the fact that this buffoon is somehow like very popular or whatever, and there's something to be gained. But the minute they get a chance to like get away from this buffoon, they will, like right now, right? A lot of these Trump people lost the election, so now they have an opportunity to be like, well, you know, Trump, he's a loser. Let's just run away from him. Again, not because he's a threat to them in terms of he's draining the swamp, or he's you know, he's anti-establishment, or he's an outsider. No, he's super inside, but he's just an absolute buffoon. This is the guy who launched an attack on, what was it, Iran, and they were ready to drop bombs on this country, which would have brought us into who knows how many American lives would have been lost. And just on the last minute, he's like changing his mind. I mean, it's like a child. He's so thin-skinned. He's just sitting around all day, whining and complaining and being a victim and whatever. I mean, he's just an absolute disaster. So, and that's why they would go and jump and select DeSantis, because DeSantis will serve the establishment agenda, but he is not a buffoon. He has tact, right? He knows how to you know, sound smooth and be slick about it, and then he can appeal to, you know, centrists and pull some people from the other side over. Like, he knows how to have great mass appeal, and he's not so all over the place. So he is a better bank robber to align yourself with than Trump is, right? So all these guys are bank robbers, but Trump is a huge liability to bank robbers because he is gonna get you in prison. How many Trump allies ended up in prison or charged, right? Look at all the people around him that ended up either getting in jail or getting close to in jail, end up with charges. Like, he just, I mean, think about it. So again, with the bank robber analogy, so everybody who's hanging out with this buffoon bank robber is like ending up in trouble, right? So he's like, let's case this bank a couple days before the robbery or something, and he does it in a way that's very buffoon, just like stupid, right? And they get spotted, and then they get arrested, and they get charged with like casing a place, right? Some other people that are associated with this buffoon bank robber, he had some stupid idea about, you know, we're gonna try to pay off a police chief, right? Stupid idea. And then the police chief is actually playing them, and now they end up in jail for conspiracy to bribe a police chief, right? And other bank robbers are seeing everything around this buffoon bank robber. Like, people are just going to jail, they're getting in trouble. He has these dumb ideas, he's all over the place, he's erratic, he's just like just a complete like clown. So they go after him to protect themselves, right? They want to do what Trump wants to do, but they don't want to get in trouble for it. They want to do it in a way where they can get away with it. And if you do it the way Trump wants to do it, you have a good chance of ending up in prison, right? So Trump, the establishment, coastal elite, liberal Democrat, is not the one that's going to save us from his good friends, right? Insane. That's one thing I will give credit to the left for. You will not find people who are seriously left who would fall for, with exceptions, Mr. TYT, who would be behind a billionaire, corrupt clown. Like, you may think that that's the case, but the people who do that are going to be more like the liberal, like normies and centrists. Like when Bloomberg was coming around, right? You got these normies and stuff who will fall for that. You also had like Newsom, normies and liberals, they might fall for Newsom, a corrupt clown like Newsom. But the real left people progressives and, further left than that, you're not going to see them ever falling for like some billionaire. Like they're not falling for Elon Musk, Trump. They're not falling for Bill Gates. It's on the right though. You have people that are far right who, for some reason, like they're anti-establishment, they're anti-elites, but yet they would think that some member of this club that they realize is corrupt is somehow their friend. I don't understand it, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, none of you guys is probably gonna live long enough to ever see the day when a billionaire actually fights for regular people, right? In any substantial way. They'll do stuff for their own benefit. Like they'll do their little charity stuff, which is like tax benefits, or it's a branding thing or whatever. But an actual true, like someone who's gonna fight for the people, you're not gonna see that coming from no billionaire, man. Billionaires live in a completely different world from you and I. I don't even think that it's gonna be a tough time to even find a billionaire who even has the capacity to understand what it's like to be a normal, like regular American, working class American. Even if they came from that, even a billionaire who came from like normal situations, what happens is as they get wealthier and wealthier, they get disconnected from normal people, and eventually they forget. It's been so long since they there's cops everywhere now. I don't know what's going on. They have been so far removed from the people that they won't even understand, like, let alone be able to try to fight for us. They don't even understand us, right? Like, you have billionaires, I think, like, what was it, Bill Gates? They don't even understand what like chicken costs. Right? I mean, think about how disconnected you are. You don't even know what it costs, like, to go grocery shopping. Think about being on that level, where the last time that you bought groceries, like maybe $80 was good enough for a family of two or something. The idea that you could be so far removed from normal people and yet understand us enough to be our champion is absurd. I'm not saying it's impossible, but hugely unlikely, and I can guarantee you Trump is not the one. I can guarantee you that. He is not the one. Trump is the fighter for only one thing: himself. He only cares about himself and his pockets and his wealth. But anyway, I mean, I know I'm wasting my time saying all that stuff. But whatever, I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna always tell the truth. People don't want to hear it, they don't want to accept it. Can you fill it up regular? Thank you. I'm gonna give you the information. What you do with it is on you. That's why I look at it. Not here to make friends, not here for the clicks. Forget Nancy, she's done. MAGA. I want the guy who they hate, and that's Donald Trump. If you get your news from Fox CNN, you've probably been infected with TDS. You can't be serious calling Trump incompetent. You disgrace yourself by talking about, oh man, it's very stable. Oh, nice. Anyone who would vote for DeSantis or Trump is a traitor. With Donald J. Trump national greatness agenda. At least you got a good sense of humor, man. On that note, this is the Baby Channel. The Baby, the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Thanks for joining the live stream. And until next time, I gotta get my evictions going, and I still have a lot of cleaning to do. A lot on my plate. A lot to do, little time. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be well. Until next time. Peace.